Hey there, friends. It's Pastor Brad, and you are watching Coming Soon Ministry podcast, where we are bringing in some of today's best and most prolific voices regarding end times theology and prophecy today. We want to equip you and help you have biblical discernment in the days that we are living in. Before we get into today's topic and today's guest, I want to remind you about our Abraham to Armageddon conference coming up in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, August 1st, 2026, one day only. Dr. Andy Woods, Dr. J.B. Hickson, Brandon Holthouse, Tom Hughes, Olivier Melnick, and of course, yours truly is going to be there to talk about Abraham to Armageddon, the battle for America. So please sign up, go to our website, and you will find information on the conference and how to get registered. Space is limited, so I encourage you to get going now. In a world rewriting morality, erasing history, and vilifying Israel, we are witnessing more than a politics or propaganda war. We're watching prophecy unfold. The rise of global anti-Semitism and the deception of the nation and the moral collapse of the West is all pointing to a deeper, darker reality, a world preparing for the ultimate lie, and that is the lie that is coming through the beast system and the Antichrist. Today, my guest hardly needs any kind of introduction. Olivier Melnick is an international speaker, author of The Normalization of Anti-Semitism, and his best-selling book by Harvest House, End Times Anti-Semitism. And he is one of the clearest prophetic voices calling the church to stand with Israel and exposing the lies of anti-Semitism that are filling our world and our airwaves today. Olivier has literally spent decades tracking the patterns of hatred and deception that echo right out of Scripture. And today we're talking about where all of this is leading, why it matters, and how every believer and every church can see just how close we are to the ultimate spiritual showdown that the Bible lays out before us. So with that, let's bring on our guest, Olivier. Well, Olivier, my friend, it's so good to have you on. Welcome to the show.
Brad, thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be on your show today. Thank you.
I said in the introduction, you hardly need an introduction, and because you are such a profound expert on the area of anti-Semitism and what's going on in the world. But for those that may not be familiar with you, would you give me a brief introduction of your ministry?
Well, I'm a Jewish believer in Yeshua, Jesus. I've been a believer for 42 years. I'm born in France, son of Holocaust survivors, and moved to the States in 1985. So I've been in Jewish ministry for about 35 years. And recently started our own ministry, shalominmessiah.com. A lot of resources there, and people can connect with us and help us reach out to Jewish people with the gospel of Yeshua, shalominmessiah.com. My area of expertise is anti-Semitism in all of its forms. I studied and taught, and I continue to do so, on the topic of anti-Semitism, being historical anti-Semitism, racial anti-Semitism, the new anti-Semitism, end times anti-Semitism, and how it all connects. I've written 7 books, 5 of them on that topic. And my most recent one is Anti-Semitism in the End Times, which can be found anywhere good books are found, including on Amazon.
All right. And you and I have, formed quite a friendship. We've been to Israel together. We've done some ministry together, and I just consider you such a great friend. So, and we also have been known to goof off a little bit together. So I want to start here, but we're going to let this conversation go wherever it needs to go. I know your heart on anti-Semitism. You've taught me so much as well, but you've been documenting and studying anti-Semitism for decades. Are we now seeing not just a resurgence, but a transformation on a global scale for the normalization of anti-Semitism?
Well, actually, that was the title of one of my books, like 2 or 3 books back, The Normalization of Anti-Semitism, when the longest hatred becomes the new normal. Uh, and yes, we are seeing that. Um, 25 years ago, when I started on this topic, not by choice, by the way, it was really the Lord who put that on my plate, and I never looked back. And I've been continually, teaching and writing and doing conferences and speaking on the topic and learning in the process. 25 years ago, when I started telling people, this is, from what I understand in the Bible and from what I'm starting to see in the current events in the news, and that was in 2000. Things are going to get really bad for the Jews, and it's starting to materialize, and it was early on, but I could already see a little bit of the handwriting on the wall. And people at the time look at me going like, are you serious? I mean, you're overreacting. You're exaggerating. Even the ministry that I was part of for 27 years, it's a great ministry. I'm very, very glad that I was part of that ministry for 27 years. They thought that I was pushing that topic too much and too often. But that's what the Lord had given me, and I just could not let go of it. And now, it, I don't like saying that I'm vindicated, because this is not something you want to be vindicated about. Like, I was right that it's going to get really bad for the Jews. Well, but I was right. And actually, I think I was not even close to where we are today. It's so much worse than I thought I would experience and witness in my own lifetime. That it's both scary and faith building, if I may say that, because if for anybody who doesn't know Jesus, it's scary, especially if it's a Jewish person who doesn't have hope, who keeps the law, who keeps the all the mitzvot, the 613 commandments, those who can be kept, even though there's no temple today. So many of them cannot even be kept. But for a Jewish person who relies on the Mosaic law and the Torah and the Talmud, it's a performance-based, works-based religion with no guarantee, no assurance that they will make it to be with God when they pass. Um, for us, it's different. We know that because of the blood of Yeshua, we have the assurance of eternal life in the presence of God, because we've just basically invited Yeshua simply by believing what he's done on our behalf, becoming sin on our behalf, and paying the price as an innocent lamb for us, the guilty party. So we have that. So I'm it's exciting for us, because it to me it strengthened my faith. I see that God is faithful. He said that he was not going to renege on Israel, and we should not exist today. All the events of the world, and you've seen some of it. You've been with me to Israel, and we've done ministry together. As you just said, we should not exist today, and yet, by the grace of God, because of his promises, because of his covenants, we do. We exist, and so this reinforces my faith. I'm seeing the events that scare me for my own people who do not know Jesus yet, who do not know their Messiah, who do not have a personal relationship with the God of the universe through his son. It scares me for them. It saddens me. It concerns me. But for my own faith, it encourages me. I'm going like, this is real. This is happening. This is confirming all that I've believed since I gave my life to him in 1983. It's confirming all of that. And it's an exciting time to live in, I guess.
It really is, and you said it well, that just the very existence of Israel is testimony to God's faithfulness and that God's promises are true. I've often heard you use the term spiritual virus when talking about anti-Semitism, or you've written about this, that anti-Semitism is more than a social issue. It is a spiritual virus. What do you mean by that?
It is a spiritual virus um, because people need to understand this, that anti-Semitism is a spiritual battle. It's part of a spiritual battle that Satan is conducting against the Jews, and it goes back to early on. And you look at all the messianic prophecies about the coming Messiah, the Jewish Messiah from the tribe of Judah, from the line of David. I mean, born in Bethlehem. I mean, all those things painting the picture of a Jewish person, a Jewish Messiah. Uh, Satan knows that when that happens, uh, it's going to start God's program that will continue to unravel, and God's program does not have room for Satan in his lies, in his shenanigans, and especially at the end of the 7 year tribulation, when the Jewish people, who by then will all be in the land, uh, call upon the one who they have pierced, according to Zechariah 12:10, they will say, "Blessed is you, comes in the name of the Lord," which is what Jesus said before he ascended. Sure, to Israel, to the Jewish people. He didn't say that to the church. He said that to the Jewish people. Surely you will not see me again until you say, "Blessed is you, comes in the name of the Lord." Actually, uh, even when he talked to the Jewish people, the believers early on in the Bible, the church was very Jewish. Okay, most of the church, if not all of it, was made of Jewish people. But that's a little side note here. So Satan knows that when that happens, when the Jewish people call upon the one that they missed back then, the man that their forefathers missed when he came, that's what triggers the second coming. And it would be so much easier for Christians to appreciate Israel and the Jews if they understood that the Jesus they worship, the Jesus they believe in, the Jesus they love, will not come back until Israel asks him to come back.
Amen. And that's such a great hope for a believer. For me as a believer, to know that Israel is going to finally proclaim Jesus as Messiah means so much. But what we're seeing today is it seems like there's a resurgence of anti-Semitism in the West. And, New York, as we were recording this, has just elected an avowed anti-Semite, someone that does not like Israel, someone that is calling for the global intifada. And a lot of people are looking at this, especially like, you and I, or a lot of our listeners, and they're saying, what's going on? What is going on here, Olivier? What's going on with this election?
I was recently doing a recording with our good friend John Holler. Well, actually, I should say John Holler recorded 45 minutes on my channel in one sitting, with answering one question. That's a little poke at our good friend. I love John. He's a dear friend. Um, uh, and I asked him, and actually, it's funny. I asked John that question, and then not long after, I did another show with our good friend David Tao, a retired tank commander who, at the time when I did the show, was in Israel. We actually spent some time together a few weeks ago, and I asked him both the same question, and they just really couldn't come up with a good answer. Neither can I, and I don't think you can either. Why would 20 to 30% of New York Jews vote for a man who's hell bent, excuse my French, on hurting the Jews? And it's not even like, that if he was making promises, to the Jews of Brooklyn, I will enable you to do this on the Sabbath, and then do this on the holidays, and then you won't have to pay for the bus on Shabbat, or you offering all kinds of things to the Jewish community. I would say, okay, they're being fooled. He's lying to them, but I can see that it's appealing, and maybe some of them would go like, yeah, we could use that. Let's vote for him. But he's openly saying, and I've got this list that I actually published in an article on him. This list that was published 2 days prior to his winning the election, where out of 12 demands that he's listing, it's published by the Democratic Socialist of America. That's the party that he belongs to, and basically, which is a Marxist faction. Uh, he he has this list. On the 12 items on the list, 9 of them are anti-Israel. Promoting boycott, divestment, sanction, the BDS, saying that anybody who invests in Israel will be forbidden to do so. People that connect with banks who invest in Israel will not be able to do that. He said that he is going to Now that he cannot do as a mayor, but he's already thinking as a governor, because that's the trajectory that he thinks he's going to be following, which is very possible in the world we live in. So he said, again, he cannot do this as a mayor legally, but when was last time in the last 10 years or 15 years that anything legal stopped the New Democrats from doing what they wanted to do? But he wants to not defund, but revoke the 501c3 status for anybody who supports the IDF. So you're looking at a Jewish ministry like the one I used to be part of until 2 years ago. That's based in Manhattan and Brooklyn. If they are supporting the IDF, and I know they are. I know they are, because all the good biblical ministries who understand the place of Israel and want to make a difference are going to help in various ways. So that ministry could lose their 501c3 status if Mamdani had his way. And he also said that he will definitely arrest Netanyahu if and when he comes to New York. Now, that also he cannot do as a mayor. He doesn't have the authority to do that, but he'll probably try anyway. And he probably get sued and get out of it, but he will try. And Brad, here's the issue. It's not that those 2 out of the 9 of the 12, there's 9 anti-Israel statement, and out of those 9, only 7 he can implement, and they're all bad. It's not so much that he cannot do the other 2. It shows the position of the heart. It shows his mindset. His mindset is, anything I can do to hurt the Jews, I will do. And yet 20 to 30% of them voted for him. I'm at a loss. I mean, I think, and I put that in my article, I said, Israel to modern American Jews, who are mostly very liberal, Israel is not that important. They have, and again, I'm going to have to unpack that a little bit, because your audience is going to go, here we go again. They have no loyalty to Israel. And what I mean by that, when I say loyalty to Israel, I don't mean that as a Jew, I'm speaking for me now, as a Jew, I'm loyal to Israel and I happen to live in America and benefit from everything I get from America, but I'm really loyal to Israel. It's my country. That's not what I mean. I come from France. I immigrated in 1985 from France as a French Jew, and I was a Jew in France, and I was also a French citizen, and very proud to be. I came to America. My wife is American. We got married in Paris. We came to America, and on a green card, legally, and everything in order. But maybe at least 10 years later, probably a little more, I became an American citizen. I went through the whole process of naturalization. Uh, and so now I'm an American citizen, and I'm very happy to be an American citizen. I'm still Jewish. I'm Jewish at home. I'm Jewish in a lot of my customs and habits and belief. Although I do believe in a Jewish Messiah being Jesus, but I place a lot of importance on the land of Israel, on the country of Israel, the place for the Jews, the only place in the world. And I respect that, and I value that. Doesn't mean that I agree with everything that the Israeli government does. But it's one thing to disagree with something ethically, politically or ethically, or whichever way. It's another thing to say, because of this, they have no right to exist. They have no right to be in their land. And that's anti-Semitism. But to say, for instance, that, this Jewish leader at the Knesset said this, that is not biblical, and I cannot support this. I mean, for instance, I love Israel. I go there now with a new ministry, probably 2 to 3 times a year at least. I support Israel. I understand the place of Israel in the Bible, the right to exist, the land, the boundaries, everything biblically speaking. But I absolutely reject the worldview, the lifestyle of homosexuality, and the Tel Aviv gay pride is the largest in the world, bigger than San Francisco. I didn't say, before we get the comments in under the video here, I did not say I hate gays. That's not what I said, friends. I said I reject, biblically speaking, I reject the lifestyle of people having sex with the same sex. I mean, gay and lesbian. I reject that. These are people like me and you who need Jesus, and it's just a choice that I would not make because I don't think it's the right choice. So just because there is the largest gay pride parade in Tel Aviv, and it's a known fact. I don't reject Israel. I want nothing to do with Israel. No, Israel, and a lot of Christians, I got to stop talking because I keep talking here. I'm becoming John Holler. I'm becoming John Holler. This is good. This is good. I mean, I have a record to break. It's 45 minutes and one question. But um, I forgot what I was going to say. See, but that's okay. That's good because now it forces you to stop.
Well, and we're talking, about how Mandami could have been elected in the city that holds 6 million Jews in New York City.
Mhm.
And can you imagine if someone would come on the scene and say the same things about French citizens or people or even to your point, the LGBTQ population? This would not be tolerated. But for some reason, because he's talking about this in the context of Jews, it gets a pass. And people seem oblivious to this, but this is a man who, and I try to reiterate this as much as I can, he is going to have command of a police department that is larger than many armies of the world. The NYPD has 30,000 sworn officers. It can have up to 36,000 sworn officers. And then if you add the civilian population, it's 50,000 in the NYPD that run this police department every day. And here you have this man, and we're going to put a link into your article. I want to put a link into your article that has those things that he listed. And he's making this list, and now he has the NYPD in some aspects to enforce this. So do you think that the only thing I can come up with, and maybe you can speak into this a little bit, is God moving the Jewish population from outside of Israel back home to their land? Do you think that may be what's going on?
I part of the conversation I had with John was exactly that. I asked John the question that you're asking me right now, and the question is, is it possible that God would allow? I don't think he would place Mondani because he doesn't condone somebody like that, but would allow Mondani to become the next mayor of New York, just like he allowed for Saul to become the king of Israel. When really, when they insisted, we want a king, we want a king. All right, you want a king, I'll give you one, and he gave him Saul, not the best option, as we know history told us. So, is it possible that Mamdani has been allowed to be in this position so that it would become so uncomfortable, increasingly, exponentially uncomfortable for the Jewish people that they would maybe start going back, making Aliyah, going back to the land, as opposed to being comfortable wherever they are in America, and to an extent, it's really repeated all over the world. Yeah, I think maybe there's a connection there. Just like I'm not ever going to be comfortable saying that the Holocaust is what caused Israel to be reborn as a nation. I think there's a connection, but it's not the cause. It's not just the cause. But yes, I would say that Mamdani is going to force Jewish people to make some hard choices, and I hope they make them before it's too late, because it's gonna get pretty dangerous. It already was before Mamdani came into he's not in office yet. He's the mayor elect, but by the first of the year of 2026, it's going to become very dangerous. They already got some swastika painted on buildings within 30 minutes of winning the elections, and I want to connect something else to this, if I may. Uh, as Mamdani is taking over New York and making it very difficult for the Jews, there are organizations other than the two main ones known as Nefesh B'Nefesh and the Jewish Agency, the two organizations that work with Jews globally to help them make Aliyah, the law of return, coming back to Israel. There are grassroots movements right now going like, okay, we got to help this community, that community to make a move, to move out of New York and move to, some of them will move to Texas, some of them will move to Florida, but move to Israel, make Aliyah, make an early Aliyah. And I was comparing notes with John, and he was really flabbergasted. We were in Israel. He was there a little before me, and came back and went again and stayed a little after me. So he was there longer than me went, but we were there about the same time, and we both witnessed that. And actually, I remember you seeing some of that when you were with me last time we went, when we drove around, the amount of new construction. And this time, which is it's what, 6 months after I went with you, I think. This time, I saw the same the same thing happening in Kfar Saba, where we stayed with our friend, in Netanya, in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem. They're popping up like mushroom, and they're not John was saying, he just peeked through the fence, through the board. You look at the construction behind the fence, and he saw there was like a hole in the ground that was enough for like 7 stories underground. So that big of a foundation is not for a 2-story building.
Right. And we saw, I remember one of the first things I saw as you and I were flying into Tel Aviv, what sticks in my mind is all the cranes sticking up. And this is a nation at war. So, not only were they fighting a war when we went, that was in March, but they're also preparing their people to come home. And so you just got back from Israel. You led a tour over there, right? And you're seeing the same thing going on.
I'm seeing the same thing going on, and I cannot help but connect it to Ezekiel 36 and 37. In Ezekiel 36, I mean, it's clear that, look at that. Don't you love it when your Bible opens exactly when you need it to open?
Yes.
Thank you, Lord. You saved me time. That's awesome. Ezekiel 36:24, and I will take you from the nations, gather you from all the lands, and bring you into your own land. And so right there, just that verse, to take Israel from the nation means that they're in a nation. So that implies there's a diaspora. When did that happen? AD 70. When the temple was destroyed, then from that point forward, the Jews were spread out into the whole world. Take you from the nations. And it looks like it's a simple verse. I'll take you from the nations, gather you from all the lands, and bring you into your own land. So take you from the nations, they're in a diaspora, gather you from all the lands. It's been a very thorough dispersion of Jews all over the planet, and take you to your own land. Wait a minute. Before 1948, this verse made no sense. Because what own land? And then, but in 1948, May 14th, Israel became a modern nation. And as a result of several different important historical events like the Balfour Declaration, the San Remo Conference, and, in the 1947 partition vote in November of 1947, then in May of 1948, Israel became a nation. And so this, you can say that really, it started before, because in the late 1800s, there were a wave of returns, a wave of aliyot, different aliyahs with, in the English, making the word in English with an S at the end, different aliyahs, different returns. I think the first one, if I'm correct, is 1881. I could be wrong, but around 1880-ish. So it started before Israel was a nation. They were returning to quote unquote Palestine, as the name was at the time. They've been coming, the Jews have been coming back to Israel in unbelief ever since. And they continue. And this is what's happening here. And then, of course, the beautiful prophecy in chapter 37 of the Valley of Dry Bones, when the Jewish people will come back in unbelief, and eventually God is going to revive the nation and give them a new heart, and his spirit will live into all Jewish people. And I mean, I can't wait. And this is not allegorical. This is not talking about anything but Jewish people coming back to the land in unbelief and eventually finding Yeshua and getting saved and becoming the Israel of God that we read about in Galatians 6:16. So it's a beautiful day. Looking forward that's going to happen.
It absolutely is. And I also think of Isaiah 66:1, which says, can a nation be born in a day? And we saw that happen in 1948. And, a lot of people don't realize when we reference Israel as Palestine, we're not referring to a nation of Palestine. That was actually a slur that was given to
Right.
Israel by Caesar, was it not?
Absolutely. It was during the Roman Revolt, and it was Emperor Adrian actually who basically decided to change the name. It's like saying, hey, America, we're going to change your name. We conquered you. We're going to change the name to Southern France. Because you've been conquered by France, so now you'll be
Right.
called Southern France. Of course, that would never happen because we the French we surrender. But so
Right, but this was a slur that was given. This wasn't like a nation that was formed that happened to
no,
be named Palestine, and most people don't realize this.
this was a slur. This was an insult to de-Judaize the region, calling it Palestina, and calling Israel, Jerusalem, Aela Capitolina, and that name stuck. And it stayed in the history books, in the Bible commentaries, and frankly, Brad, nobody really cared. It was not a good name. It was not the biblical name. It's not found anywhere in the Bible, but it kind of stuck. And it's not until the Soviet Union placed Arafat in the Middle East as this Palestinian leader, who, by the way, was born in Egypt, and that's a fact. You can
And a
check
lot
it.
of people don't know that either.
Yeah, he was an Egyptian
Well,
national.
he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner, so we know he had to
Oh,
have great intentions, right?
don't get me started on that.
But anyway, yeah. So
And
Russia put him in.
that reminds me of a cartoon of Arafat in his office in Ramallah, and then he's got the Nobel Peace Prize diploma behind his head, hanging slightly slanted with bullet holes all around. Like anyway, and it's the Nobel
But
Peace
we
Prize.
digress.
So yeah, Arafat
Yes.
was placed on the scene by the Soviet Union, and he started this campaign. And it took really several decades to take it. It was planted there, and it had to germinate, it had to grow to the place where right now it's a big, 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 massive tree in the middle of Israel, where nobody is questioning that it exists, that it's real. Where they have a Palestinian people that has been displaced, that has been colonized, that has been ostracized, that has been, genocide, killing of all the Palestinians, all those lies, all those tropes against Israel. But this was a big lie, an invention, but now it's taken as fact. And because it's taken as fact, the younger generation that is not educated about history, that only cares about social justice, and of course, a flavor of social justice that can be explained in 15 seconds or less on TikTok, because anything else is just not worth their time. They just will look at the situation in the Middle East, and they will take the side of the Palestinians from the river to the sea. They don't understand that they are promoting the complete eradication of the Jewish people from the face of the earth.
And you and I have stood on the Gazan border. We've met in the kibbutzes. We've talked to people, survivors of October 7th. We've been to Nova. We've witnessed firsthand the horrors of that day. And that, to me, that was just a culmination of horrors that have been going on for decades. And meanwhile, while all this is going on with Arafat and the implementation of Hamas, then afterwards the church is going through a theological apostate of the new Apostolic Reformation and Kingdom Now theology. Do you think that has a lot to do with where the church is at right now with not supporting Israel?
Well, the New Apostolic Reformation uh, is it's, and I just did a video on my channel with Joe Hawkins, a friend of ours, on the topic, and I'm going to do another one with, in the near future. But the New Apostolic Reformation is not a biblical. It's not a second Reformation. It's not biblical. It's very dangerous, and it has no place for Israel, because and that's the thing. There's no place. There's no future Israel, because um, they look at Christians bringing the kingdom by their own efforts. So it's not the king coming back to establish and inaugurate the kingdom like the Bible tells us. It's Christians doing his legwork. Now we are doing the legwork in a sense, because we are adding subjects to the kingdom by getting people saved, but we're not bringing the kingdom in and of itself. That's the job of the king. uh, Adding people to the kingdom is why we're still here, to bring glory to God by bringing more people to his kingdom, getting him saved. So there's nothing wrong with that, but bringing the kingdom itself is not our job. And NAR believes that they can bring the kingdom. And what's fascinating to me, and I haven't seen a lot of people making that connection. What's fascinating to me is that the Jews are accused of taking over the world for the exact same things that Christians who follow NAR are praised for. Again,
Isn't that something?
double standard. The Christians that follow NAR, they follow this thing called seven mountains of influence. That Christians will bring the kingdom of God if only Christians could have complete control of government, of bank, of entertainment, of education, and there's like seven of them. And of religion. That's five out of the seven. The other two are escaping me right now. And then you shift that to a Jewish a background, and people will tell you the Jews, and this comes from this hoax that was written in 1904 by this Russian guy Sergei Nilus, who wrote this book that we know to this day as the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. And he wrote this book saying that those are the minutes of the first Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland of 1897, which of course it's not. And where in this book, the Jews are plotting, it's a cabal of Jewish leaders plotting secretly to take over the world by taking over the banks, education, religion, entertainment, culture, everything. And until they have all this under their control, they're going to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. So the Jews are accused of doing exactly what some Christians are doing. These Christians are being praised for doing what's right by bringing God's kingdom by controlling all aspects of life. And the Jews, who of course are not doing that, are accused of wanting to take over the world. But no Jews, no news. If it's the Jews, it's going to be a problem. So I find the connection fascinating.
And the irony in all this is, if that's the case, then how come we just had a anti-Semite elected as a New York mayor?
But
Or how come?
that's because we control the government.
Right. Well,
We put an anti-Semite there because we control the government.
It seems like Israel has to
Doesn't make
ask
sense.
permission to the United States or someone all the time for permission, to do this or to do that. Can we go back into Gaza? Can we bomb this person, or can we defend ourselves here? And if Israel is in control of everything, well, then they wouldn't have to ask permission from everybody to rule their own and to govern their own nation.
Do you think if we control the media that we would be painting a picture of ourselves that way, the Jews? I mean, come on. I mean, the media is painting such an evil, toxic picture of Israel and the Jews. I mean, it would be self-destructing to do that. It makes no sense at all. But again, maybe I need to, give your audience my definition of anti-Semitism, because that would probably help a little bit in this conversation.
That would be, yes. Go ahead.
Anti-Semitism is the irrational and satanic hatred of the Jews and Israel, characterized by thoughts, words, and deeds against them. And the key words here, I keep repeating that to people, the key words are irrational and satanic, and really irrational because it is satanic. Only Satan and his demons can make something completely irrational sound and look rational. I'll give you an example. Queers for Palestine.
Yes.
Explain that one to me. If you bring anybody who is homosexual to any parts of the world like Gaza or Palestinian territories or any Arab countries that are Muslim, they're going to throw them off the top of a roof. And that's the reality. And then so queers for Palestine are really not queers for Palestine. They're queers against Israel. That's what they are. They don't really want to call themselves that. But that's what they are. But they don't think that far. And it's irrational. So you get the queers for Palestine or liberals, whatever, holding hands with radical Muslims when really they're on two opposite sides of a spectrum. Ideologically, they have nothing in common. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the collaboration of people that have nothing in common, but they do have one thing they will work on together: is getting rid of all the Jews and eradicating Israel from the map. That they can work on, and then when that's done, they can argue again.
And what we're seeing happen in our nation is this red-green axis where we have cultural Marxism coming and radical Islamic ideologies where, we're watching what's happened and continues to happen in Europe. And now that's coming to America. I was talking with somebody earlier that, 24 years ago, they were flying planes into our buildings. And we were like awakening to the fact that there is this ideological threat against our society called Islam. Now we're opening up the door wide open for them and letting them through the front door.
They went from flying planes into the building to coming into leadership position in government.
And we're welcoming them.
That's right.
It is irrational. It is satanic in my summation.
Oh, absolutely. It is satanic. It is irrational because we fight as I mentioned in the beginning of your program, we fight a spiritual battle. Satan does not want to come to the end of his career, which will happen when Jesus returns, which will happen when the Jews call him. So, if the very people instrumental in the second coming of Yeshua are completely eradicated, then he's not coming back. And then not only Satan has a secure job, but he's also fulfilling his ultimate agenda of making God a liar.
And you made an excellent point that I think we need to land on firmly is that when you identify this as a satanic agenda, it's not that merely, and I don't mean to understate this, but merely that Satan hates the Jews. Satan hates the Jews because they are God's vehicle to bring about God's plan of redemption for mankind. So that satanic agenda, it goes beyond a hatred of a people group. It goes into the very plan of God, and that's why Satan wants to stop this. Do you agree?
Well, because Satan hates God. He wants to be God himself. He wants to replace God. Another reason why he's hurting the Jews is because how do you, if somebody was to come at you, Brad, and punch you in the face, you would maybe walk away or say, I don't want to get into a fight. You'd walk away or you'd punch back or whatever, but you probably said, listen, we're not going to get into a fight. But if somebody was to come and hit your little boy or your wife,
mm-hmm.
then you would lose your mind. You would just go after that person to
absolutely.
Stop that. And so what Satan is doing, he's going after Israel and the Jews because he knows that he's going after the apple of God's eye, and he just wants to upset God more than anything. So he's going after them.
Amen. Well, we're going to leave it there for today because I think we've covered some incredible ground, and we could go on and on this topic for quite a long time because there is so much happening. So we'll have to do it again sometime. I want to turn it over to you to close with where can people find you? How can people get a hold of your material? Because you're not just doing an apology for Israel. You are unfolding a lot of these things that we have just talked about. And You've written an incredible book, End Times Anti-Semitism, which Harvest House published. It's doing really well on Amazon right now. So how can people find you, get a hold of you, see your videos, read your books, and so on?
All my books are on Amazon. The one with Harvest House is on Amazon as well as everywhere books are sold. So probably a little better distribution for this new one. And people can find us at shalominmessiah.com. Also on YouTube, Shalom and Messiah Ministries. They can find me on Instagram, Telegram, X. You type my name, you'll find me, or you type Shalom and Messiah, either or. You'll find me and you can connect with us and learn more about how you can make a difference for God's kingdom by blessing Israel. And the best blessing really at the end of the day is to give the gospel, the gift that never stops giving. And there's many ways we can do that. So just connect with us and we help you being equipped to reach out to your Jewish friends. And a final thought, Brad, if I may, to your Christian audience, I want you, as I'm speaking to you, as I'm closing now, I want you to, our ministry is ready and willing to equip you to better share the gospel with your Jewish friends, Jewish neighbors, Jewish coworkers. But then I want to also challenge you, ask God, pray in your quiet time in the next few days and ask God, Lord, how can I become a Schindler, a 21st century Oscar Schindler, or 21st century Corey ten Boom, asking God to present to you opportunities to make a difference in the life of Jewish people above and beyond the gospel. That will make a big difference.
Well, Olivier, I so love working with you, and I am so thankful that the Lord has put our paths together, and I have learned so much from you. I'm sure the audience that has watched today has done the same thing. And we're going to put a link to your stuff on our website, on the notes of the show. If someone hasn't read this book, End Times Anti-Semitism, go pick up a copy. It is so clear and gives so much understanding from a scriptural and biblical lens of what's going on in this world. You need to go read this. So go buy a copy. We'll put a link in the notes of this show. And Olivier, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for being on with us today.
Brad, thank you anytime. Thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for what you do. Be blessed.
All right. Shalom, my friend.